Set up to do it, but he wasn't able to join us. So we actually made a late call. This person was gracious enough to come and join us. You can see his bio in the booklet. Just to touch on a few of the points. True, North Catholic person through and through. Teacher for 45 years. Basketball coach for 8 years. Athletic director for 35 years. My accounting teacher. He actually passed me for my driver's license through driver's ed at North. So it was my pleasure to welcome, and I can't say Fran Doherty, but because Mr. Doherty was to me.
We really want Ernie Cosmic, but he fell. And he said, can you do us a favor at the last minute? We're really stuck. There's nobody else we can get, so I'm in. So it certainly made me feel really, some of you probably have in class, the true definition of St. Francis de Sales, a gentleman's saint. I mean, you saw the Sales picture you saw about Fitzsimmons. And I can't believe he was a Marine. It just blew my mind when I found he was a Marine. Anyway, we used to do a lot of pranks. And that's why we really did well at North. The faculty was incredible. And then I'm going to bring up Mr. Smith, Mr. Tom Smith, who, he had another side of it, which a lot of you guys may have seen, may not have seen. Anyway, we had a faculty meeting one day, and Father Gary, who's really straight, he's talking about coffee. It's unprofessional to bring coffee to the classroom. And this is like 7:30, we had this big meeting, he was really upset, he talked like 25 minutes. So then we go to class. Now, the business office is on the first floor, it was down at the end, and we were kind of like hidden, so you could look out in the hallway and see if anyone
a great person in soccer. This year we have Tom Crossan, who will be doing the introduction for the person who received the award.
Thanks very much. As has been said a couple times already today, last year we did lose a true soul of North and North soccer in Jack O'Neill. He is honored here today by the Service Award, also by his wife Ree and their son Anthony. We really appreciate them showing up. This year, we are awarding this service award to a gentleman that we all probably know one way or the other, infamous, famous bartender. His name is Mr. Leo Filowitz. Famous for running the Leo Scam and things along that lines, his holiday Christmas fundraiser for himself. But that's really only half of who Leo is. Because it is half of him. Leo has done a tremendous amount of goodwill in raising money for various enterprises to help other people. One of those organizations has been North and North Soccer. And without Leo, there will be a number of kids who really couldn't afford Catholic education, especially at North. So we're sincerely in his debt for all the work he's done. He also sent his son Matt
for my son's soccer team at Penn Academy in Tarsdale to help with this, so we get into tournaments and everything, because parents were complaining about bills and bills and bills. So after doing this year will be the 38th year next month. And I just love the fact that with my son's team, we went to Florida, the Walt Disney International Tournament. They played teams from all over the world. Went to Louisville, Kentucky on the MasterCard Invitational. They beat 3 state champions to get to the finals and win it. And it was all local kids. But in the meantime, in the practice, you hear the parents complaining, bills and bills and bills. And I understand what they're doing. So I used to go in to talk to Jerry and get a list go into the office at North?
Tom Williams passed away in 2023, and his family is in Florida. So unfortunately, there's no one here. But this brings me back to people, if you can, sending us resumes. Look, unfortunately, Tom passed away. We got the resume, and undoubtedly, this guy deserved to be in this Hall of Fame. So we just wanted to recognize him. Again, he was a 2-year-old Catholic. I think they won a couple championships, of course, in the 60s. I think we won every year. But, you know, God rest his soul, and I'm glad we could recognize him, and we'll get the awards to his family. So that's the time.
All right, so next up is somebody who, long awaited, somebody who I had the pleasure to play for.
And Chris took the first line away, but truly the most, almost like a Jeopardy question, always has been like, when's he getting in? What are you guys doing? Well, today, that is the day. He is being inducted. Jerry, as most of you know, grew up in Juniata, 1974 grad of North, began coaching probably in the early to mid-70s at Juniata in their intramural program. And it just took him. Caused other friends of his, me included, Mr. Oaks there as well, to begin coaching as well under his dictate. And he learned there under such legends, at least in Juniata and through Alex Marshall, and certainly under the leadership of Mr. Jim Fallon, also a North Hall of Famer. And from there, he got the call from Mr.
Lined up, but I think Tom pretty much nailed it. So I have a few post-its here, people that know me, and a note taker with post-its. I'm just not sure what order I do this. But anyway, thank you to the board. It's a great honor. It's a great honor to be among everyone here, a lot of friends, people that, guys that I've played against, guys that I've played with, and people that I've admired most of my career in soccer, especially guys that have mentored me throughout my career at Worth Catholic. Tom referenced Larry Sullivan. I'd like to thank Tom Oaks for bringing me into actually the soccer and the intramural in Juniata. Larry gave me a call several years ago, asked me if I wanted to, no, he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me. He pretty much told me, you're now the freshman coach at Father Judge. And it was a great honor to be considered any part of the Catholic League. And as Tom said, I did learn under Larry. He taught me just about everything I know, and he taught me how to think. And that's what I'll always thank Larry for. I appreciate that, Larry. When we left Judge, we went to North Catholic. Tom Siaka hired me, and Tom treated me as a co-coach. He didn't treat me as an assistant coach. And I think that's maybe not the easiest thing to do for a head coach, because I've been through it. So thank him, Tommy. Appreciate it. And like the rescue dogs that you see out there anymore, Ray DeStephanis at Roman, once North closed, somebody else took care of me. And that was Ray.
DeSalvo Memorial Scholarship. And to do the introduction there is Hall of Famer Joe DeSalvo.
First, I'd like to congratulate all the nominees. Fantastic honor. I'm glad to be a part of this every year. My family's been part of scholarship programs during their educational journey, whether it was Chestnut Hill Academy, Holy Family, or University of North Carolina. So this was just another way for me to pay back a little bit. So what we've done, the Rose DeSalvo Memorial Scholarship, this is the first year, the first presentation. The recipient this year, And there's a little side story. Try and stay with me. There's a lot of Smith names going.
Luckily, he's another guy that probably fell through the cracks for a few years, and like I asked you earlier, somebody come up with a resume for Steve, and it was like, geez, how do we miss this guy? So again, please guys, if you have anybody, get it. Stevie, like most of us, started his soccer career at Lighthouse, of course, as we all did. When he went on to North, he was part of, I think one of the, I'm going to get killed if I say this, but that group that played in the, I guess, 78, 79, 80, 81, they were pretty good. I think they won 3 city titles in 4 years. They were really a good group, and there's a lot of Hall of Famers that are part of that. And, you know, Stevie was on that team, and then after, you know, making All Catholic, leaving North, we wanted to play at Spring Garden, which I was lucky enough during my career to be a teammate of Steve's and an opponent. And I will tell you, I love being his teammate more than his opponent.
Thank you. I would like to thank the committee, obviously, for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. I was surprised and humbled by the letter I received from Mouse telling me I was getting inducted. When I opened the letter, I actually thought it was going to be for saying our team had gotten in it. My junior year, we won the city championship, which turned out to be the last state championship until Mr. Doc explained earlier, 2009 or 2008, I think they won the fall. And I always remember reading the next day in the paper, it says North Catholic won first Catholic League championship in 29 years, or city championship in 29 years. And I said, that can't be true. I'm not that old. And then I did the math, and sure enough, I was that old. So my career was a lot different than most of the people in this room. My dad did 20 years in the United States Navy. From 1950 to 1971, he moved us to Kensington in Philadelphia when he retired. So when I got a little older, I said, Dad, what made you move to Kensington out of all the places in Philadelphia you could have moved to? And he said, well, for 2 reasons. Number one reason, he wanted me and my brothers to attend Northeast Catholic High School. My dad graduated from North Catholic in 1950. Him and his brothers all attended North Catholic, not by choice, but because they were raised in an orphanage run by the St. Francis de Sales priest. So it was an introduction that I found out very early about how great of a tradition North was. The team you see up here to my right here, my neighborhood, you had Pete McGlinden, which a lot of people don't know here, but Pete was always great to me growing up. You had Ed Sheridan, who took me to UGH my sophomore year in college, first year for the majors. He brought us up there. Moose Mason, which a lot of guys don't remember, but Moose, his name up there says W. Mason, and one of the former players that I played with, Jake Morris, said, what's the W stand for? And I said his first name was William, but not many of us younger guys knew that until we got a little older. And second reason he moved to Kensington was because my mom grew up in Fishtown. Her last name's Furphy. For any of those people who might know some of the Furphys, my mom was one of them. And my mom never got a driver's license while my dad was in the military, so he said he wanted her to be at least 2 bus stops away from his mother-in-law, so she couldn't go walking home, running home every time they got in a little argument. Or me and my brothers were driving her crazy in that small 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, on Front Street, which I did never forget my dad never forgive him for moving to Front Street. I said, you could have moved to Wishart Street, I could have been next to the McGoverns, you know? So that was how I got here to Philadelphia. So I got here in late in 71. It was too late for soccer signups, and it didn't matter because none of us knew what soccer was in our family. By April or so, I started going around the neighborhood, and I was only in 2nd grade, so my mom wasn't letting me go too far. Met my soon to find out it was my best friend, and I still keep in touch with him all the time. We started hanging around together, and August comes around and he says, Steve, you want to go try out for a soccer team? A traveling soccer team. I said, travel? Where do you travel to? He said, oh, different clubs. And I'm like, well, what's soccer? And he started laughing. He goes, oh, you'll like it. You're run around, chase a ball, and just have fun. I said, all right, sure. So we go up to practice, and I meet this guy who's coaching us. And at the time, I didn't know it, but he was 78 years old, I believe. He was born in 1894. His name's Jimmy Mills. And like I said, he was 78, so he gets us all together and he says, who are you? And I tell him my name, and he goes, all right. Now these guys started, one of my good friends showed up today, Bob McLaren. He was on the team the first year they had it. So I didn't have many expectations of making the team, but I hustled my butt off and ran around and kicked the ball, and before I knew it, he said I could come back the next day and make sure I pack a lunch this time, because Mr. Mills used to have two-a-days before they had two-a-days. So I thought it was unbelievable. I came home, told my mom and dad, this old guy's coaching us, and he does it all by himself. So back then we didn't have the internet, so we didn't know this until Mr. Mills was inducted. I didn't know it until Mr. Mills was inducted into the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, and he coached the 1956 Olympic team, men's United States Olympic team, to a bronze medal in 1956. He went on to coach at Lighthouse. A lot of the guys in here played under him. Joe DeSalvo was one of them, and Joe's got a great story that he told me last year. Mr. Mills, for any of you guys who didn't unfortunately have a chance to meet him, was a great guy, but he had a very old school way of playing. He had 5 forwards, 3 halfbacks, and 2 fullbacks. So he asked Joe to come play for him the one year, and he says, Joe, I know you probably love running up and down the field, which was definitely a big lie. Joe liked to hang at the 50-yard line and go forward. And he says, all I'm going to do is ask you to score goals and stay up front and don't pass that 50-yard line. Joe said, oh, Mr. Mills, I think I can handle that one. I think I'll do all right. And as you can see by Joe's red jacket, he did pretty well for himself. But Mr. Mills was full with knowledge, and he, took a bunch of us guys, and I was one of the only ones who didn't know anything about soccer. A lot of the other guys' parents had played the game, but we traveled all over the place. We went to Montreal, we went to California when we were 15, 16 years old, and we went up to Franklin Lakes, New York. That was one of the tournaments I do remember for Lighthouse. Chunk Ono went up winning the MVP, and we won the tournament. So speaking of Chunk, when we were all getting ready to go to high school, our team, I going around, start asking everybody who's all going to North. So Chunk Ono, his brother, was there, and he says, I don't want to go to North, I want to go to Frankfurt. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But turns out it was probably the best thing, because if him and Pat O'Donnell would have went to North, I probably wouldn't have made the team my sophomore year. So I thank those guys for not going to North. My freshman year, we had the first freshman soccer team. Now, I had gotten cut from JV by the coach, who I won't mention, didn't really like the guy. So when I got cut my freshman year, I remember going home and getting all upset, saying to my mom and dad I wanted to quit North and go to Frankfurt. My dad laughed very hard and said, there's no way you play soccer. I said, I'm sending you there to get an education and some discipline. So I says, all right, so I knew I had no chance. But the next day I got to school, and they had a freshman team announced on a loudspeaker. So Mr. Green, who Mr. Doc did mention, was the first coach. So I had a great time. We played 4 or 5 games. We played Brian Judge, I think, and I think it was the first year they ever had freshman soccer. So sophomore year, when it was time to try out, my brother Tom was going into his senior year. He got cut his junior year from the team, but he loved soccer, so he kept trying out. So he tried out senior year, and he made the team. And I'll never forget the first day of practice. We were all up there at Lighthouse, and they had field 1 and 2 we were practicing on. and the coaches were in between. So I'm like, God, how are they gonna see me out of all these kids here? It had to be like 50 of us practicing. And I just said to myself, I'm just gonna, hustle like I do every game and just, do what I do. And which wasn't scoring a lot of goals. It was mainly trying to, shut people down and just do what I could. So needless to say, next day we get to school and my name's on the list, and I checked it twice. I thought it was a mistake, but I made the team. So the year started. Bugs Burtenberg, one of my best friends, he and I made the team together, and it was always a joke. Johnny White made the team with us, and we knew that me and Bugs weren't going to see much time. And Father Green was one of the priests that came on to be one of the moderators, and he had nicknames for us all, and he called Bugsy and called me Small Change, and Bugsy Change of the Nickel. So Father Green can see me now. I think I'm no longer Mr. Small Change anymore. I had an unbelievable 3 years at North. My freshman year, like I said, we went to, I played freshman soccer, but we won the city championship that year. We had a lot of seniors that year, and I looked up to a lot of the guys on the team. So that gave a lot of openings up for people to make the team the next year, which, like I said, me, Johnny, and Bugsy all made the team. A lot of juniors also made the team, and my brother Tom fortunately made the team. It was the first time I had a chance to play with brother Tom, which brings me to the second or third game of the season, our sophomore year. We were playing Judge at Judge, and it was 0-0, and Smitty looked over and said, Steve, I want you to go in there, go up front. And he pulled Rusty, I think, and Jimmy Hooven or whoever was up front, and he put me, and I think he might have put Bugsy in with me, and he said, just go up there and try to cause some trouble. So someone took a shot, I followed it up, goaltender comes out, and back in the day, the goalie would always go up with his knee, and I was extremely short, so he went up kneeing me in the face and bloodied my nose a little bit. So my brother Tom, which anybody of you ever saw my brother Tom play, he liked to play a little physical, and he came running up and went throwing, punches at people. So the ref gave me a yellow card, but Coach Smith took him off the game, out of the game at the time. And at halftime, Mr. Smith said, Tom, that's the fastest I've seen you run all season so far. So I got in a couple more games that year, but it was wonderful being a part of practice every day. John Wurtenberg in the back, he didn't know it at the time, but I always looked up to John. He was one of the older guys from playing at Lighthouse, and he played in the back, and that's where I wanted to play once I was a little bit bigger. They kept moving me back. Every year I went from left wing to left halfback to left fullback. Started getting a little bigger and a little slower, I guess, so they kept moving me back. So my junior year going into that, Mr. Smith said no one's guaranteed a spot, whether you were on the team last year or not. So when after tryouts, of course, I made the team, and he says, I like you playing the left outside halfback. And I said, sure. I just wanted to play. I didn't really care where I played. So he had a senior start before me, a guy named Joe Nicolardi. And I kept working hard in the preseason and the beginning of the season, and then he eventually gave me a starting job. I was lucky and healthy enough to play into the city championship game that year. I was just reading some of the stuff, and my dad had gotten me a scrapbook, and I was reading some of the things, and after the victory, Mr. Smith was interviewed and said Bill Kiger and Steve McGarry didn't get too much attention from the players, from the newspapers, or pats on the back from the kids in school, but they chase guys end to end, and that's what you need as much as anything else. I took that into my rest of my career, and I was invited to try out for the United Junior Soccer League team, under 19, which one of my favorite coaches there, Larry Sarge Sullivan, and Mike Robbo Robinson was coach, and Larry was the coach, and Michael trained us. And of course, Larry, was training along with us, and Larry used to beat us around the field half the time, even though he was about 20 years older than most of us. Larry was just what I needed at that time in my soccer career. He told me to shut up, play hard, and with the referees. We played the game, and my mom and dad had gotten there a little bit late, and right before halftime, I was yelling at the refs, which I very rarely did, and he yells out, "McGarry, you say one more thing, it's gonna be me and you at halftime." So my mom heard it, even though she had a hearing aid. She seemed to hear things that, you know, she wasn't supposed to sometimes. And she said, "Oh my God," to my dad, "is he gonna beat Steven up at halftime?" And my dad said, "Steven's not stupid enough to put his hands up to Mr. Sullivan." And he was right, I did not. And Larry told me to keep my mouth shut, and I did, for that game anyway. As you can see, I like to talk. So my junior year was a wonderful year. That game against Judge my sophomore year. We didn't lose again until my senior year. So I made all Catholic my senior year, second team. And my dad, like I said, made me a scrapbook, and he saved me something, which was a cutout. And I was amazed, but on the team, next to your name, it had how many coaches voted for you. And it said 6. So I went up to Mr. Smith at the all Catholic banquet, and I said, "Who were the coaches that voted for me?" So he tells me, Huey McEnroe, which happens to be here tonight, from Doherty, Woody Hartman from Judge, Joe Krantz from Wood, Tom Turner from LaSalle, and the guy from Ryan. I know who he is, but I don't like to give him a lot of credit, you know? So I went up and I introduced myself to all 6 of them, and I wound up, knowing some of them really well after I finished playing, and I thanked those guys, and I really was very happy to make second team. The year first team was filled with guys that were unbelievably, some of them were my teammates: Paul Braden, Andy Stackhouse, Dave Carty, Johnny Wake, of course, Bugs Burtenberg, Bob King. So, to make second team, a lot of people don't think it's a great honor, but to me it was one of the greatest honors I've received my whole life. So after North, I went on to play for Duncan Hughley. Never heard of Duncan, never heard of Spring Garden College. But my dad gave me an ultimatum to either go to college or join the military like him and work at a job and start paying rent. And I chose to go to college with Duncan Hughley. And I had a great 4 years with Duncan. Like I said, he was the other coach that really taught me a lot of things. And he didn't tell me to shut up very often, but he did tell me to keep it down when I got a little too out of hand. And finally, I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for my son Steven. I told people all the time, we come here and more people know him than know me. So I think they put me in the Hall of Fame because Steven's coming the last 5 or so years. I've been bringing Steven with me, so it's fun to see how many guys from the North Hall of Fame that he knows more than me. And of course, I wouldn't be here today, as Jerry said, without his beautiful girlfriend. I wouldn't be here without my wonderful wife, and my daughter Dana, and son Andrew, and his wife Kate, and my 3 granddaughters, Elizabeth, Julia, and Leah. Thank you all.
But nobody earns that jacket on their own. There's a lot of people that are involved in putting that jacket on us. And that goes